really the role that I play.
No?
I'm gonna be honest.
You're not strict.
In a shocking courtroom moment, Diddy reportedly broke down in tears as the proceedings took an unexpected turn. Tensions soared when Donald Trump, appearing in a legal capacity, demanded that the court impose the maximum sentence, leaving spectators and legal teams stunned. The emotional intensity of the scene was palpable, with Diddy visibly shaken, struggling to maintain composure amid the high-stakes confrontation. Onlookers described the atmosphere as tense and surreal, as two iconic figures faced off in a legal battle that has captured global attention. The moment marked one of the most dramatic episodes in recent celebrity court history. The fall of Sean Diddy Combs. No bail, no pardon, no escape. Sean Diddy Combs, once celebrated as one of the most powerful figures in the music industry, now finds himself cornered with no clear path out. His desperate attempts to avoid a lengthy prison sentence have failed on every front. First, a federal judge denied his massive $50 million bail request, ruling that he remains both a flight risk and a danger to the community. Then, his final hope, a presidential pardon, was crushed when Donald Trump, a man Diddy once considered a friend, publicly declared that he would not grant him one. This series of blows marks the collapse of Diddy's last escape routes. With sentencing just weeks away, prosecutors are preparing to push for a punishment far beyond the federal guidelines. For a man who once lived in luxury, shielded by fame and influence, the reality of spending the rest of his life in prison is becoming more certain each day. But how did this downfall accelerate so quickly? And why has Trump, who once enjoyed Diddy's company, now turned his back on him? Trump's words. Why the pardon died before it began. In an August 1st interview with Newsmax, Trump was asked directly whether he would consider pardoning Sean Combs. His response was surprisingly candid. At first, Trump hinted at some sympathy, saying Diddy was sort of half-innocent and that he had once been friendly with him. But then came the real reason for his refusal: politics and personal history. Trump explained that when he ran for office, Diddy launched a very public campaign against him, making terrible statements and even forming a political movement to oppose his presidency. For Trump, who has always valued loyalty above all else, this betrayal sealed Diddy's fate. "We don't like to have things cloud our judgment," Trump admitted. "But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements, it makes it more difficult." Behind Trump's words lies the truth. Personal grudges matter. Diddy's outspoken criticism of Trump, including calling him dangerous and predicting a race war if he stayed in power, played a major role in shutting down the possibility of clemency. And while Diddy's lawyers had quietly been exploring the idea of a pardon, Trump's blunt response ended any hope that political strings could be pulled. The bail that never was. Why $50 million didn't matter. Even if a pardon had been possible, Diddy still faced the immediate problem of being behind bars while awaiting sentencing. In July, his legal team filed a desperate motion for bail, offering an unprecedented $50 million to guarantee his release. But the judge refused, stating there was no exceptional circumstance that justified such an arrangement. Prosecutors argued that Diddy had a long history of violent behavior, manipulation, and influence over others. They pointed to incidents after his split with Cassie Ventura in 2018, highlighting that violence did not stop even as lawsuits and accusations mounted. They also noted that Diddy's wealth and connections made him uniquely capable of disappearing or interfering with witnesses if he were released. The denial of this bail request wasn't the first. A prior request for a $1 million bond was also rejected. With both attempts blocked, Diddy has no choice but to remain in custody until his October 3rd sentencing date. The image of a man once at the center of luxury parties, now sitting in a cell, is a stark reminder of how far he has fallen. The informant allegations. Did Diddy rely too heavily on federal connections? Part of the reason many once believed Diddy might escape punishment was the persistent rumor that he was a long-time federal informant. Sujay Knight and other industry insiders claimed Diddy had been feeding information to law enforcement for years, which allegedly shielded him from prosecution even as his name surfaced in connection with serious crimes. Knight once remarked, "Dirty was feeding information to the feds." The cops knew exactly what Puffy was involved in, but he never got indicted. According to this theory, Diddy believed himself untouchable, operating with the confidence that his government connections would protect him from consequences. But those connections, if they ever existed, seem useless now. As prosecutors push for a harsher sentence, Diddy finds himself abandoned by the very systems he may have once relied on. The possibility of jury tampering or backroom deals, rumors that once circulated, have now been drowned out by the court's firm decisions to keep him locked away. Trump's memory and 50 Cent's role in the downfall. One of the most unexpected players in this saga is rapper 50 Cent. From the moment rumors of a pardon surfaced, 50 Cent made it his mission to ensure Trump didn't forget Diddy's harsh words. He used his massive social media following to post old videos of Diddy's anti-Trump statements, including his remarks about a potential race war and his demand that white men like Trump need to be banished. In one post, 50 Cent taunted, "See, Trump don't like sires like this, buddy. You run your mouth too much." His campaign worked. Trump, known for his long memory and personal grudges, was reminded of Diddy's hostility and made it clear that he would not risk political backlash by helping someone who had so publicly insulted him. This dynamic highlights just how personal politics can be. For Trump, forgiving Diddy would not only look bad, but also feel like rewarding someone who betrayed him. And with 50 Cent actively pushing against any form of leniency, the odds of a pardon disappeared completely. Prosecutors push for a longer sentence. Initially, after Diddy's July conviction on 2 felony charges, it was expected that his sentence might fall within federal guidelines of 4 to 5 years. But prosecutors have now signaled that they will seek a much harsher punishment. In a filing submitted to Manhattan Federal Court, they argued that Diddy's history of violence and manipulation justifies a sentence well above the guidelines. They also pointed out that federal guidelines are only recommendations. The judge has the discretion to impose a much longer sentence if the circumstances warrant it. And in this case, prosecutors argue that the scale of Diddy's crimes and his pattern of behavior demand it. This means Diddy could be facing decades behind bars, not just a handful of years. And with the denial of bail, he will remain incarcerated until the final sentence is announced. The human cost, victims, and public outrage. Beyond the courtroom drama, this case has had a profound human impact. Cassie Ventura, who accused Diddy of abuse and control, has faced public scrutiny and relived painful experiences during the trial. Her attorney has called Diddy's defense strategy a complete disgrace and affront to survivors of domestic violence, highlighting the deep emotional wounds at the center of this case. Public reaction has been divided. Some continue to defend Diddy, clinging to the image of the music mogul they admired. But many others see his downfall as long overdue justice, a reckoning for years of unchecked power and abuse. For survivors of violence, his conviction has provided a sense of validation, even if the road to healing remains long. What comes next? With bail denied and Trump publicly ruling out a pardon, Diddy's future now rests in the hands of the judge who will sentence him on October 3rd. His attorneys will likely argue for leniency, pointing to his charitable work and career achievements, but prosecutors are preparing to dismantle those arguments with evidence of his violent and manipulative behavior. Even if Trump were to change his mind, the process of securing a pardon would take months, if not years. And with Diddy already in custody, those months would be spent behind bars. The notion of an easy escape has evaporated, leaving only uncertainty and fear. Bail motions and offers. Diddy's legal team has made multiple motions for bail, with this latest effort being the fifth attempt. The defense initially proposed smaller cash bonds, citing the nonviolent nature of his convictions. When the court denied previous motions, the legal team escalated their request, offering a $50 million bond package. This package would include substantial security measures, surrender of his passport, restricted travel, home detention at his Miami mansion, and limited communication via phone or internet. The defense argues that these conditions would mitigate any potential flight risk or danger to others, showing their willingness to comply with strict supervision. Legal arguments for release. Combs's attorneys have made several arguments in support of his release. First, they contend that his convictions were for nonviolent offenses, emphasizing that the charges did not involve direct physical harm. They argue that allowing him to await sentencing from home, under strict conditions, is reasonable and just, considering his public persona and contributions to the entertainment industry. The legal team also cited his willingness to submit to travel restrictions, drug testing, and surrender of his passport, demonstrating that he could comply with monitoring while awaiting sentencing. Court concerns about safety. Despite the defense's offers, the court has expressed significant concerns about safety and potential danger. Judge Aaron, who presided over the case, noted Combs's history of aggressive behavior in personal relationships, stating that it was impossible to conclude he posed no threat to others. These concerns were cited as reasons to keep Combs in custody until his sentencing, emphasizing that safety must take precedence over wealth or status. In particular, individuals who testified against him, including former partners, were highlighted as potentially vulnerable if Combs were released. Civil complaints and public appeals. Adding to the complexity of Combs's legal situation, several civil complaints have been filed by individuals alleging various forms of misconduct. These filings, while separate from the federal criminal case, demonstrate the ongoing scrutiny he faces and add to the legal challenges in front of him. Lawyers representing some of these plaintiffs have submitted public pleas to deny bail, reinforcing the court's concerns that release could pose a risk to those involved. The accumulation of civil and criminal actions underscores the seriousness of the legal environment surrounding Combs. Defense strategy and legal tactics. Combs's legal team has employed a range of strategies to advocate for his release. Initially, they proposed a moderate cash bond, which the court rejected. When the judge cited safety concerns, the defense increased the bond to $50 million, offering additional guarantees such as house arrest, private security, and restricted communications. Additionally, his attorneys argued that he did not personally participate in certain actions central to the case, suggesting that responsibility was limited to oversight rather than direct involvement. While the court has remained skeptical of these claims, they represent the defense's broader strategy to secure bail. Flight risk assessment. The court has characterized Combs as a potential flight risk, citing his wealth, international presence, and access to resources. Despite the defense's extensive security proposals and travel restrictions, the judge remains cautious. Federal courts must weigh the probability that a defendant might flee against their liberty rights, and in Combs's case, the combination of high public profile and financial capacity has heightened judicial concern. The judge has consistently ruled that the risk of flight, combined with safety concerns, outweighs potential arguments for temporary release. Details of the bail package. The $50 million bond package proposed by Combs's attorneys is notable for its scale and comprehensiveness. It includes a substantial cash component, co-signed by family members and close associates, as well as strict house arrest protocols. Combs would remain at his Miami mansion under private security, with travel only permitted for court appearances and attorney meetings in New York, Florida, or California. Additionally, he would be required to surrender his passport and undergo regular drug testing, further limiting his ability to evade the legal system. These measures illustrate the lengths the defense is willing to go to demonstrate responsibility and compliance. Judge's ruling and rationale. Despite the extensive bail package, the court has denied Combs's request for release. Judge Arun cited his history of violent behavior, concern for potential retaliation against witnesses, and risk of non-compliance as key factors in the decision. The ruling reflects the judiciary's responsibility to prioritize public safety and the integrity of the legal process over financial assurances. By remaining in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn until his October sentencing, Combs is subject to oversight that the court deems necessary to maintain order and protect individuals involved in the case. Public and media reaction to Combs's bail requests and the subsequent denial have generated widespread media attention and public discussion. Social media and news outlets have analyzed the implications of his case, considering both his high-profile career and the seriousness of his legal situation. Public opinion has been divided, with some emphasizing fairness in awaiting sentencing for nonviolent charges, while others highlight the need for accountability given the nature of the offenses and the risk posed to victims. The extensive coverage underscores the intersection of celebrity, legal process, and public perception. New civil lawsuits. In addition to the federal case, multiple civil lawsuits have been filed against Combs, including claims involving alleged assaults dating back several years. These lawsuits, while separate from the criminal proceedings, add another layer of complexity and public scrutiny. One complaint even involves allegations concerning a minor, which could have serious implications if linked to federal criminal statutes. Although civil lawsuits differ from criminal charges in evidentiary requirements, they contribute to an overall perception of ongoing legal challenges for Combs. Financial considerations versus safety. While Combs offered a substantial financial bond to secure his release, the court made clear that monetary resources cannot override public safety concerns. The $50 million proposal demonstrated the defense's willingness to provide substantial security measures, but the court determined that the risk of harm to others and flight outweighed financial assurances. This highlights the judiciary's focus on principles of justice and safety rather than wealth or celebrity status. Conclusion: no more escape routes. For decades, Sean "Diddy" Combs seemed untouchable, shielded by fame, fortune, and rumored federal connections. But now, stripped of bail and denied a pardon, he faces the reality of accountability. Trump's refusal, influenced by past betrayal and amplified by 50 Cent's reminders, shut down the last possible escape hatch. Prosecutors' determination to push for a harsher sentence makes the outlook even grimmer. The man once celebrated as a cultural icon now waits in a cell, his future defined not by music or influence, but by the length of his prison term. His story has become a cautionary tale, a reminder that even those who believe themselves above the law must eventually face it.